Hi folks, this is Chris from Plasticity Technologies. Today's session I'm going to pick up from our previous session where Robert added out a new client named Trudy McLeod. I'm going to start at the dashboard, and if we take a quick look we can see in our requested tab on the dashboard that Trudy McLeod has an entry here where she's requested a project. So I'd like to start up the process of giving her an estimate today. So what I'm going to do, I clicked into our project from the dashboard. You can see again, just a review, that drops a breadcrumb for us that we could get back to the dashboard if needed. And it also gives us the details of the project. So what I'm going to start to do here is, first thing, I'm going to start to add some tasks around this project. And it's not a necessary step. It is a step that you are able to skip through if you don't want to go to that length. But it is a nice step to do because it helps you to manage the project, and it also makes creating orders much simpler. So I'm going to go for it and give us a scope for this project. So let's start. So the first thing that Trudy wanted was she wanted some work done in her basement. So we're going to say painting and plaster, and that is going to be in the basement. And I'm just going to say as a subdescription, repair holes and paint. There's an estimated quantity of 1. I'm going to give it an estimated labor cost. I'm going to say that this job is going to cost approximately $400 of labor. There's going to be approximately $100 of material. And I'm going to say for this one, right now I'm going to give it an estimated price of approximately $700. I will go $750. And estimated hours, I think it's going to take approximately 14 hours. All right, I'm going to add another task. So the next task is that she wants her cupboards painted. And if we take a look down at this task, so it says here 2 coats out, 2 coats in, prime and paint. That looks good to me. That's exactly what she wants. And this is going to be in her kitchen. And we're going to take a look down. This was information that came out of our template. Quantity 1, the labor cost is typically $200, estimated price of $300, but she's got quite a large kitchen, so I'm actually going to say this is going to cost us $300, and we're just going to bump this up. It's going to be $550. And I'm going to continue. And you can see when we come back to the project that now we have 2 tasks. So we've got the cupboards, we've got the painting and plaster. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to start to generate an estimate around this. Before we do that though, actually I should point out, you can see that once I created the scope here, the tasks, you can see that our project status automatically was updated to scope created. So now it's requested scope created, as opposed to before it was requested quotation requested. And if we pop back to the dashboard momentarily, just kind of follow the status of the project along, we're going to see on the estimates tab that it actually moved from the requested block here, and now it's actually over here. You can see this is our project now. It's in the scoped. So we're going to pick it back up from the scoped, and we're going to jump right into orders. So I have the option here. I can add an estimate which just tracks our costs, or I can jump right into the quote. Before I do that, we haven't yet specified who the estimator was and who the manager was. So I'm going to say in this case, I'm not actually in this list, but I'm going to pick Robert as the estimator here. I am in this one. I'm going to say I'm the manager of this project. So I'm going to submit that. And if we look, I have the choice here. I can create an estimate if I want. And in this case, I actually am going to go ahead and do that just so you guys can get an idea of what's going on. But this isn't a necessary step. I could jump right to the quote if I felt compelled to. So if I go to the estimate and I say continue, We're going to get a look at what the date is for the estimate. So we've got an order date, which is defaulted to today's date. The project that we're working on, which you can't change, you've already committed to this project. Same with the client, you're committed to this client. Now we do have two contacts, so depending on the scenario, we may want to switch the contact. Maybe Trudy wanted the documentation to go to her, so we will do that in this case. If there was a unit number at this address that it applied to, we could add that in at this point. We've got the estimator and manager, and then we want to say what the price includes. We're going to say labor and materials in this case. This was something that I could have set up on the project, but I didn't do that step ahead, so now I have to fill it out at this stage of the game. So I'm moving on. I'm going to continue. There's no PO number in this case where it's residential, and if I leave the tax blank, that'll take care of itself. So I'm just going to say continue. And now I have two options. So where we're at, we're going to create the line items for this order for the estimate. And if you take a look, you have two choices. Because I created tasks on the project, that's an option, is I can copy them from the tasks, or I could go in and do it manually. In this case, since I took the time to set up tasks, it makes sense to reuse them. So I'm just going to say to go ahead and create the line items from the tasks. And you can see it automatically selects both lines that I had created there. If I wanted, I could deselect one or whatever options I wanted to do there. But in this case, I created two tasks. I want to show both of them on the estimate, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And now I have three options. I can view a draft, which I'm going to do. Take a quick peek at it, make sure it looks the way I expect. My Adobe's got some security stuff happening here, so just gotta click through that. Once you do that, you shouldn't see that again for this site. And you can see on the draft, one of the features of the draft is a watermark. The watermark just lets us know that this is a draft version. It's not the real version that you'd want to send to the client. Make sure that you don't make the mistake of printing it and handing it over to somebody or whatnot before you're actually done completing the orders. So you can see it's got in the top box, it's got your project details, the address, who the client is, phone number, and in the middle section we've got our line items. These came from our tasks. You can see that it tallied up the line items, and here it's saying because these were our costs, it was 500 and 300. You can see that the total cost of this project to us is going to be $800. So we're going to want to make sure on this, this is an internal usage only report, the estimate, but we want to make sure that when we produce our quotation that we're actually going to generate a profit. So we're going to be looking for a number on the quotation that's bigger than 800, and ideally we're going to want to make 30 or 40% on this particular job. So we're going to have to take a good look and make sure that we get it right. That's the whole benefit of generating the estimate, is that you get the opportunity just to look at the costing of the project without having to deal with the pricing, and then it gives you a clear view of what you believe the cost of the project is before we get into actually worrying about the pricing and what we're going to charge the client. So that's a little bit about the estimate. I'm going to come back in. I'm happy with that order, so I'm going to generate it. If I didn't generate it here, it would leave it in draft mode, which would mean I could continue to revise it until I was happy with it. But we're happy with this on the first try, so I'm just going to generate the order. And you're going to see what happens is we come to the order screen now, where I could make a PDF of it. I could look at it in HTML version again. I could send it off if I want to send it to one of the owners or another manager or whoever to get approval or whatnot. I could send it to them, or I could just delete the order if I wasn't happy with it. I'm going to jump back to the project, and we're going to do the final step for today's session, where we're going to actually create the quotation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to click our add again on the orders tab, and you can see the default is quotation. We're going to pick that, and we're going to look at the info again. Everything's looking good to me. We're going to switch this to Trudy, and I'm going to just at the end of this, I'm going to show you how you could go back and update the project, that you wouldn't have to continue to change this. We can make the default contact be Trudy on the project, and then at that point it would remain Trudy throughout the rest of the project. If we go to labor and materials, we already picked that, but again, that's something I should have said on the project. I'll do that after we're done here, and then I'm just going to say continue. And now at this point, you'll see when I create my line items for the quotation, I actually have 3 options this time instead of 2. And what it is, the last time we said that we were going to create the order lines from the tasks. In this case, we actually have generated an order, which is our estimate that we just created. So now I have a new option here that I can actually generate my order lines from the previous order that we created. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That seems like the obvious step since I took the time to generate the estimate. And if we take a look down the line here, everything's looking good. Our cost, which we said was $800 total, is now also showing us our amount for the quote, which is looking good. We can see we have a markup on each item, and that looks like it's going to come out to about what we want. So I'm going to say continue on that. And this time I'm not going to bother viewing the draft. I'm pretty confident everything's the way I want it. I'm just going to say to generate the order. Happy with that. And you'll see I land on the order. At this point I am going to pop up the PDF quickly just to be 100% sure. And I pop up my PDF. Here it is. You can see the watermarks removed. Now that it's a full-blown order, we're not looking at that draft watermark anymore. And you can see it's got all the project details, the client details, the billing address. It's got our line items, and you can see now that it's actually, rather than showing the cost, now we're looking at the amount, because this is the quotation that we'd send out to the client. We've also included the line tax for each line item, and then the line total, and finally our total for the entire job. So this would be our total with taxes in the bottom corner. And this is the total tax that we're charging. So you can see it's got all the information that the client would need to make a decision. And if we're ready to send that, we have an option here where you can just send it right from the system. In our test environment, we'd always send it to one of our employees just so we're not sending out to real clients by accident in our test site. So that's why you're going to see one of our addresses here, but that's fine. We'll just give it a quick test run and send it to our employee address. And we'll just say quotation for review, and please see attached quotation. So obviously you could put whatever message makes sense here, and we're going to hit the save. It's added successfully. So what that did, that actually did 2 things for us. Sent the email out to our client, in this case to our worker's address, just because we're not sending from test to real clients. And then it also, what it did is it created a message in our message log which lets us know that this has been sent. So if somebody else was to come in and think that they might want to send this quotation, they'd realize that, well, it's already been sent. Maybe I don't really want to send this again. So it's just a good way to be able to review whether or not you've sent the messages out at that point. So the next step here is that we're going to go back to the project, like I was saying. I just wanted to review some of the stuff on the project because when I was creating my orders, I noticed that we didn't have a couple of the items filled in. So if we take a look quickly, you can see here our price includes wasn't filled in. If that had been filled in from the start, that wouldn't have been an issue on our orders. So that's a good one to always make sure you fill in. We're going to say, we'll just go to the next step. We'll say continue. And over here, we've got the manager is Chris Pierce. Everything here is looking okay. We're going to continue. And everything looks fine there. I'm just going to jump back to the request quickly. And I see here that the contact was Tom. So we wanted to change the contact to Trudy, but we will leave the admin contact as Tom. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're going to jump back and make the save there. And one final detail that we're going to take a look at is we're going to come back and we're going to update our estimated price. And our estimated price is going to be $1,300. Sorry, our expected price, that is. And our expected cost is going to be, I'm going to leave that alone for a minute, but our expected price is going to be $1,300. So we're going to save that and exit. and that gets our project all up to date. So the next time we generate an order in our next session, you're going to get to see that the orders will actually pick up the information that we just saved to the project. And also in a future session, what we'll do is we'll actually get into the job analysis, and you'll get to take a look at the estimated prices versus the expected versus the actuals, and that's really neat too, to be able to track your project at those levels. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next demo.